Hi, guys.
Hey, how are you?
So today we are here. I'm Stephanie Falciano, and
Vincent Antonelli. Nice to see you again.
nice to see you guys. We wanted to share a little bit about what it's like to compete in a NDCA competition and what the judges look for. So I'm a certified judge and invigilator, and we've both been competing together for how many years have we competed
About
together?
12 years.
Dancing together 12 years. We
Competing
stopped
maybe-
competing in 2019.
There you go.
9 years. Is that? I need a calculator.
It's all good. We're competitors.
So we competed in American Rhythm and
Theater arts. Cabaret.
yes. What's the difference between theater arts and cabaret? Inquiring minds want to know.
Absolutely.
It's actually the amount of lifts that you do. I mean, there are other things, but that's like a major one.
Yeah.
So in general, I just wanted to talk about all the different categories first. So we have Latin, we have
American rhythm.
We have standard,
We have smooth.
and of course we have theater arts
Cabaret.
and right. Yeah.
Of course, can't forget that.
And you can compete with teachers, you can compete with other students. There are tons of different categories, and we will get into that either later or on another episode. But I guess what I wanted to share is something I always wanted to know the answer to, and that is, what are the judges looking for? It's very hard to figure out, but it's quite simple when you are able to take a step back and kind of evaluate. Major simple thing would be
Posture.
Yeah, I mean, definitely posture. So if your shoulders are up when you're dancing and you're not relaxed, that's going to show up. And sometimes we think we're relaxed,
And
then we're
it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening. So what would be another simple thing before we get into more complex things?
How you present yourself prior to even walking on a dance floor.
Definitely how you present yourself. So what do you mean, like grooming stuff?
Well, absolutely. Grooming is definitely important. How you compose yourself, how you present your partner, how you take care of your partner, how you relate to your partner. Presentation between two people prior to even starting dancing.
Absolutely. Judges have been known to tell us that they look at what's happening before you even step onto the dance floor, which is kind of interesting. They're actually, not all of them, but some of them are actually watching you before you step onto the dance floor.
Well, prior to walking onto the dance floor for your heat, waiting for another group to come off the floor, you're actually being watched as you are waiting on, they call it the on-deck circle or the on-deck spot placement, and you're actually being watched there prior to you even walking on the floor. Your posture, your nerves, your confidence, all of those things prior to you walking on the floor. Then you'll walk on the floor, and you're going to be judged on your presentation, your look, and everything else prior to the music starting. So that's pretty intense as well. So you really have to be conscious of what you're thinking about and where your thoughts are, because you can't just think that they're going to just judge me on my dancing and walk out onto the floor like not really caring about.
Oh, yeah.
Yourself.
Packaging yourself is a major thing. Like you are in the supermarket and you see, Chips Ahoy as opposed to like, one of those No Frills brand.
I'm going for the Chips Ahoy.
Yeah, because it's packaged so pretty.
That's correct.
And, and then if a new packaging comes out, that catches your eye.
Yes.
So that's really important. So everything from your hairstyle to your costume to your shoes to your brand basically becomes really important.
How you groom yourself.
Yeah. So then, I mean, we could just do a whole episode on that, but I wanted to jump to when we actually walk onto the floor, and there are, in American Rhythm, for us, when we were competing, there were 9 times out of 10, because we competed in the tri-state area, which is very heavily populated, there was always a lot of rounds. So, so your floor craft
Yes.
becomes something really important. So I just wanted to kind of show us here. And This is a very crowded floor. And this is one of the many rounds that you have to pass through before you get to a final. So, Vincent, like floor craft was always a interesting challenge for us. So, what do you
Yeah,
think about floor
absolutely.
craft?
We all practice at our own convenience in a studio, and 9 out of 10 times you're in an open space and you're just so comfortable with the space on the floor as you're practicing until you get into a competition room with a floor full of competitors that are basically looking to take some of your space and make it a little bit uncomfortable for you. So, knowing your floor craft, navigating the floor is a very important thing, and it needs to be a conscious decision that you have for every dance.
Absolutely. And sometimes, as that was one heat. So what happens is they do like an all on, or the all ons
Yes,
and
the all
cha-cha,
on.
where you dance cha-cha for with all the other competitors, and then they break it up. So you're only, I think it's 12 couples on the floor at a time. So they have like different heats. So
Yeah,
you're on off, you're on off, and that makes things a little bit easier. You can catch your breath in the earlier rounds.
yeah. I mean, there are times when you're shoulder to shoulder with another couple, and they want your space because they have patterns and choreography that they want to execute to be seen, and so do you.
And that's always a big challenge because you have to take your space, but you don't want to be rude. So if you're a polite person, like Vincent is,
I try to be.
it's a very hard because it is a battle. It's like a war zone. And you have to know that. And when you walk off the floor, the war is over. You're not in battle anymore. But when you're on that floor, you really have to battle to take your space, because if you are missed, you are overlooked and you're left out. You're not recalled. So that's really important for new competitors to remember.
Absolutely.
And then the timing. I
Mm.
mean, from my one of my first lessons, I think, if you're off time, you're last. Like that's it. Like you're not depicting the dance.
Yeah. It doesn't. Everything else really falls apart once your timing is off. It's very hard to get back to being or feeling comfortable while you're dancing off time. It just throws the whole game off. And the judges are that's something that they're not going to be
Like
very happy
nails on a
about.
chalkboard.
It's just atrocious to them. So
Yeah.
it's just that the details of that should be spent before anything else. If you don't know your timing, if you don't have any musicality to the genre of music that you're dancing to, you got some problems on the dance floor, especially in battle, as Stephanie would say, at a competition. You're not even going to get looked at.
Absolutely. And then there's the other challenge as a competitor of do you go to an open space, or do you try to take a space in the front or go to the middle?
Yeah.
I mean, you could drive yourself crazy trying to figure it out. But the important thing is to expand and really take your space.
Yeah.
So you get looked at.
You really have to have a good understanding of the floor as you're dancing. As you're dancing, and you have to know where you're traveling, know your pattern, know if you need an open space, and sometimes that space is not there.
So we're going to take a look at a rumba, another crowded dance floor. Cameras, and there's layers and layers of, so that's another theory of everything. Yes. Also, what we think about like partnership,
Well,
physically and emotionally.
sure. So, want to recognize on the dance floor as a couple that is together, like nobody else wants to be together. And that's not the case. So not only do you have to get you're an actor and an actress on the dance floor, and you cannot show any type of bitterness, anger, honest. It's very hard to get to your space without that feeling because there's always somebody around you.
Absolutely. All right, and that was a little clip of American Rumba. That's one of my favorite dances.
It's a great dance. It's there's a lot of emotion in the dance. There's a lot of space to create different rhythms and musicality in the dance. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So that togetherness, and then of course trying to create different shapes.
Yeah.
Between the couples and keeping your common center,
Mm-hmm.
and the energy, how much energy you can do something with a lot of energy.
Absolutely.
Or a little
and
bit.
Your energy needs to be time released as well. It's very easy to burn out at a competition when the first song that comes on, which would be a cha-cha, your adrenaline's moving, your anxiety is running at all different levels. We all have that at a different level. Excitement. So you want to be able to time release your energy so that you can last till the very end and look like on the last dance that you just started the first dance. And sometimes that's not an easy thing to do. You could very easily burn yourself out as soon as you start dancing.
Well, the most influential, one of the most influential, I have two, Rufus Dustin, Diana McDonald, my two most influential. I have a lot of influential coaches, so I too many to end to say here, but maybe one day I'll just do a video on that. But Diana McDonald and Gary would always walk off the floor, especially Diana, and never breathe heavy. Yes. So that was always that's how I want to be when I walk off the floor. Yes. So you have to train. And that's on the other side of it. But from the trying to figure out what the judges are looking for, you really want to consider a good package, connection, partnership.
Absolutely.
Timing. Now, if you're new to competing and maybe you're doing a bronze, I just want to talk about that really quickly. Maybe you're doing like a bronze entry and you are uncontested. What does that mean? You are still going to be judged against the standard. So I know sometimes people say, oh, there's nobody in my category, but sometimes you can be judged harsher. You will get a score. All judges score proficiency dances. Using 1 through 100, I believe. Maybe at some competitions it's different, but typically you get a score and you're judged against the standard. So that can even sometimes be a harsher score than if somebody's on the dance floor that's not that great. So don't feel like that's a bad thing if you're uncontested, especially if you're doing that proficiency score division. So that could be a good thing. So one last thing I want to talk about, what defines a professional? Like when are you declared a professional? And basically a professional, like in anything else, is when you make a living doing that thing. But the NDCA actually classifies a professional as one of the following. If you are studying to be a professional, that doesn't mean that you are necessarily one unless you register with the NDCA as a professional. And if you partner pro-ams on the competition floor. And like I said, if you declare yourself a professional, and of course, we have strong beliefs that if you are a professional, you are training as one and studying the syllabus and taking exams. So hopefully everybody's studying out there.
As it should be. Mm-hmm. There is a syllabus. There are books to study and to abide by, and it's what we do here.
The famous red books.
Yeah, those red books.
So find the red books on your local
Like the red book.
USISTD or Terpsichore. Yeah, you want to find those red books and study. And of course, the little gray book
That infamous gray book.
for
Standard.
standard. Yeah, yeah. And then there's Esther Don syllabus. But anyway, yeah, so a little bit about competition. And I'd like to see you all out there competing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep dancing.